Hello, I'm delighted to be joined today by Jacqueline Monnier, who's the Education and Training Officer at Under One Roof. Jacqueline's joined us today to discuss some of the work that Under One Roof does across Scotland. So welcome along, Jacqueline. Thanks for being with us today.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
A pleasure. So I guess we'll come on to what Under One Roof actually does very shortly, but could you start maybe by just giving us a brief history on the organisation?
Yeah, absolutely. So our origins date back to 1993. That's when our founders, John Gilbert and Annie Flint, developed the Tenement Handbook. That quickly became, I guess, a bit of an industry bible on all things tenement maintenance and law. It was pretty much on everybody's desks, everybody referenced it, and it's a very important tool for people working in the industry. But as time went on, things were updated, legislation changed. The handbook was digitised in 2016. It then grew into a website, a project, and then Under One Roof as an organisation was established, and we became a charity in 2020.
Excellent. So really from small acorns and all that.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been really well received, and it's just great to see how things have grown. Yeah.
Excellent. And 2025 now, obviously it's a well-known name, Under One Roof,
Yes.
within the sector. Certainly here at SafeDeposits, we've kind of worked with and encountered your colleagues, including Annie and John as well,
Yeah.
in the past on many occasions.
Yeah.
Perhaps you could kind of give people watching here a little bit of an insight into what the role is now in 2025.
So our goal at Under One Roof is the preservation and sustainability of Scotland's tenemental stock. So when we talk about tenements, we are not just talking about our traditional red and blonde sandstone buildings. We're talking about any building that's been split horizontally into two or more residential accommodation. So that can range from modern apartment blocks, it can be flats above shops, ex-local authority 4 and a block properties, low-rise and high-rise properties, converted townhouses. So we work with owners, landlords and people across the sector who are dealing with a variety of tenemental stock. We want to kind of give them impartial information, support them in how they can better manage properties, how they can maintain properties, and that can range from things like very technical matters such as roof repairs, chimneys, gutters, types of stone and different materials that are used in the building that need to be maintained. Or it may also be, chatting to them about the best way to have good relations with their neighbours, how they get to know who the co-owners are in the building, and how they can all work together to meet their obligations as owners to maintain their buildings.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. And one of the terms that I see obviously in a lot of Under One Roof material is common repairs.
Yes.
What's the difference between a common repair and an individual, for anybody who's not familiar with those?
Absolutely. So when we talk about individual repairs, we're mostly talking about things that happen behind that flat door. So anything that's within those 4 walls that's private to that flat that doesn't affect the main services within a building is generally termed to be an individual repair. So that might be fixing a leaky tap, it could be replacing some skirting board, it could be resealing a bath or a shower, something like that. Obviously there's more in-depth individual repairs, but in the main it tends to be smaller jobs. When we talk about common repairs, we're talking about repairs that affect the fabric of the building, anything within the communal areas that everybody who lives there has access to. Owners will be are responsible for the common areas of the building. So when they bought their property, their title deed will explain to them that they are also responsible as an owner for their share of the common areas of the building and maintaining that. Not everybody is aware of that when they buy a property. So We are here to help them at whatever stage that they're at, whether they're a new buyer, or whether they're an established landlord, or they're an owner who's lived in a building for 30, 40 years plus. Whatever stage that an owner is at, then we're here to help them.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And on that note, you're accessible to everybody who's effectively involved, be that tenants, landlords.
Absolutely, yeah. So we work with a variety of people. So we work more and more with tenants. We have tenants who access our inquiry service on a regular basis to, ask us questions about things that are happening in their building, that they're looking, for some assistance with. They don't know where to go. We work with landlords. We work with owners. We work with local authorities, housing associations, property factors, solicitors, surveyors, architects, letting agents, anybody that is really operating within the kind of general housing sector can access our service for free, and we're here to help them in any way that we can.
Fantastic. And when it comes to landlords, obviously they will be the owners of the property, and they'll be familiar with Under One Roof, or many landlords will be familiar with Under One Roof through events and so on that are held around the country.
Yeah.
When it comes to tenants, what role can they play when it comes to common repairs or the process there?
Yeah, I think tenants probably play a more important role than what they actually realise. They're actually living in the property, it's their home. Landlords in many cases are not living in other parts of the building, they might not even be in the same town or city. They may or may not have a letting agent, but it's the tenant who's on the ground. They are aware of what's happening in the property, and they're going to notice the first signs of something that's gone wrong. And it's a really good opportunity for tenants if something does happen. That could be fairly minor to them, or it could be something that's a bit more catastrophic, like an escape of water from the roof, something like that. But tenants can, they can notify their landlord or their letting agent as to what's happening in real time. They can obviously take photographs. In some cases, they may take videos. We've had tenants send us videos and photographs of things that are happening inside their property as a result of a common issue, and they're asking us for help on what they do in this situation. So tenants can help in real time. They, as I say, they can take photos, they can video things that will be time and date stamped, and they can create a visual library of what has actually happened within the property. And it may be that it's a one-off incident, but unfortunately the nature of common repairs and the process of organising them, of contacting landlords, seeking agreement and gathering funds for repairs, it is a time-consuming process. So tenants who are able to document things in real time, and they've got that visual library that can show the deterioration of a certain area of a property, or the communal area within a building, whatever it may be, really helps landlords and owners to know the effects of the repair, and what it is that they need to do to make things happen. And obviously that will help tenants throughout their tenancy, particularly when it comes to the end and they're checking out of a property and they're looking for their deposit to be returned to them. There's no surprises, because the agent or the landlord is aware through the documentation that the tenant has provided them as to what has actually happened. So it just, I guess, helps the overall communication process. It makes it very clear as to who's responsible, and helps tenants to be able to get their deposit back at the end without going through a dispute process, because there's been a miscommunication as to how an incident has occurred in a property. Where has that damage come from? Is it something that the tenant has done, or is it an area that the landlord is responsible? So tenants being proactive and notifying landlords or agents of things that have gone wrong will help with the overall running of their tenancy, and certainly at the end with the return of the deposit.
Yeah, and I think communication is something that at Safe Deposits we certainly emphasise as being an important thing, and I guess that works both ways there. Transparency is obviously a great benefit where
Absolutely.
if the tenant is flagging an issue early, the landlord has a better understanding that this is not something that the tenant has just kind of left to happen. And likewise, even if the landlord is encountering challenges with other owners in the building and actually getting work kind of progressed, at least the tenant can see that the landlord is making every effort they can as well there.
Absolutely. I mean, if we think about legislation-wise and we think about the repairing standard and the update that was introduced to the repairing standard in March 2024, there were various aspects of that, but one of the key things was including was surrounding the management of common areas and common repairs. So it's important that tenants are aware of the repairing standard, and that they understand the process in a very layman's way of what happens with common repairs, and how owners need to be in communication with each other, that it's not often a very quick thing to resolve an issue, but that they understand that their landlord has got to work within the parameters of the legislative framework. So knowing that information is important. Yeah.
Oh, that's excellent. This has been really useful so far. We'll come in a moment to talk about how people can access and find out more about Under One Roof. I thought it was a good point to mention as well, Safe Deposits Scotland as a not-for-profit scheme. We donate to our not-for-profit charity, the Safe Deposits Scotland Charitable Trust, and at the end of 2024 the Charitable Trust awarded a grant to Under One Roof for some activities. So I wondered if you'd be able to kind of give us an idea of some of the activity that's helped to fund.
We're absolutely delighted to have received that grant, so thank you so much. That allowed us to retain a second education and training officer. Stephen was my maternity cover last year, and through the receipt of the grant we were able to keep him on in his role. So him and I have been able to really expand the work that we do and the outreach that we do to different groups of people, and that's allowed us to hold more events Scotland-wide. It's allowed us to answer more inquiries. I think between April up to the end of August we've been able to answer 450 inquiries through our Ask an Expert service on our website. We have got around just under 20 events booked for between now and the end of the year, which is a variety of in-person events and webinars, and that's just allowing us to reach a far wider audience than what we would have been able to do if it was only just one person in the role. So we're very, very grateful to have received the grant, and to be able to reach more letting agents, reach more tenants, and start to look at more kind of tenant-specific project work and how we can educate tenants as to the role that they play when they're renting a property, how they can assist their landlord or their letting agent, and how that is just kind of beneficial for the whole process of preserving our tenemental stock in Scotland.
Excellent. And the stats you point to there, and the fact that you've kind of kicked on the second officer, that would suggest there's a real increase in demand for that type of information.
Absolutely, there is. After every event that we do, we are getting really positive feedback. It increases our following on social media channels. People respond very well to the information that we put out there. So it's really, really helpful for us to be able to reach a wider audience, and to be able to do more, to host more events, to be more visible to people across a variety of different kind of channels. And I think that that's really helpful for us you know, to be able to do that and to develop like that. A lot of it is, you know, there are planned events and there are planned projects, but we're very good at kind of working on a more holistic basis. And if something presents itself, then, you know, we're able to kind of to follow that through and think, okay, well, how will this lead us to, you know, a different type of audience or to help more people? So we're very willing and able to do that, and the grant really helps us in that area.
Excellent. Delighted to hear. And you mentioned social media as well. That leads on nicely to just where can people find out more about Under One Roof?
So we're on social media at Under One Roof Scotland, and you can access our Facebook page, our Instagram, and our LinkedIn using that address. We have our newsletter where we have over 3,000 subscribers to that. So on a monthly basis, we'll drop a nice treat into your inbox, giving you all sorts of updates as to what's happening within the industry, the work that we're doing, and a roundup of our events. So yeah, people can go onto our website and they can sign up to the newsletter there. They can obviously access our website at www.underoneroof.scot, where we've got all of our information. It's a fantastic tool for all sorts of articles that are related to tenement management and maintenance and retrofit. So that is a great tool for people to use, but sometimes people don't have the time to do, you know, a complete deep dive on the specific subject, and that's where we've got our Ask a Tenement Expert service on the website. So they can click onto that, they can complete the box with their information and the nature of their problem. We ask them to just let us know what local authority area that their property is in. And then that comes through to myself or Stephen, and we will answer that and get back to people with, you know, our expertise, what we would recommend that people do, links to certain pages on our website, and just try and keep the conversation going with people, because we realise that it can be a difficult and challenging process when you're dealing with other owners that may or may not reside in the building. And, you know, you're just looking to get an issue resolved. So yeah, we're there for people in a variety of different ways.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jacqueline. It's been a
so
pleasure
welcome.
talking to you today. We'll put
Thank
those
you.
links on this video as well for people to click through
so
and
much.
read more. But thank you again for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye.